Today I'm going to talk about cartridges and some of the benefits and some of the drawbacks from these cartridges and how you can use them with a regular tattoo machine if you want to buy the adapter that is made for that. Now let me show you how this works here. Here is the cartridge. Now it has this piece on the back here that when you push on it, it causes the needles to come out of the end of the tip. And then you have, for me, I have this adapter. There are several different kinds of these. This one's a stainless or aluminum adapter, and you can also buy disposables, and there are some rotary machines that already have a connector for these cartridges. So what this is just a tube and a grip, and the cartridge goes into the grip here and then locks in. You give it a little bit of a twist and it locks in. You can't pull it out. Now the advantage to that is that you don't have to mess with the needles, and the less you have to mess with the needle group, the better. You don't want to end up poking yourself or end up putting a barb on the end of your needle because you've accidentally pushed it into the tip too hard or dinged it on something. So it's really simple just to get it out of the package, put it in there, and you're ready to go. With a regular needle, you have to get your needle and then put the grommet on it, and then bend your needle bar or your needle group, however you like to do it, slide it down into your tube and your tip here, and you can see sometimes you can hit the sides with your needles, and you don't want to push really hard when you do this because you don't want to put force behind that. If it hits there, you don't want to force it in, you just want to let it guide itself in there. And with the cartridges, you don't have to worry about that. You just snap it in and you're ready to go. Now this, you still need this part. This has got a little plunger on the end of it, and that slides into your tube here and then pushes your needle out. So you would set that up in your machine just like you would your regular needle. I'm gonna put this on the armature bar nipple here. Put that on straight, tighten down my tube vise, and then make sure my needle is where it needs to be, and we are ready to go. And when I run this, it will push the needle out of the end of the tip. If I needed to change out my needle group during a tattoo, if I had my regular setup, I would have to undo everything and take the whole thing out and then put a new one in there. Now what I can do with the cartridges, and this is what makes things easier, is I can just change my needle group without changing my machine or changing my tube and grip or anything. I can just twist this and remove that needle group and then get the needle group I need to work with and plug it back in, and I'm good to go. Usually the way I have things set up is I have a machine for my liner, a machine for my color packer, a machine for my shading. Now what you can do, especially with one of these machines that you can adjust while you're working, is you can do all three tasks with this one machine. Just adjust your give clip here and adjust your voltage, and then when you need to adjust your needle group, pop it out and put a new one in, and you're ready to go. Now, another issue that you have to worry about with your regular setup is when you get your needle group into your tip and you set up your machine. So one of the things you have to do is make sure that your needle group and your tip are flush. Your needles have to be running along the bottom of your tip. Now, some people don't like the cartridges because there's not a lot of options when it comes to the needle group you can get and the shape of your tip. And what I'm hoping is the longer these cartridges are out and the more people start to use these, is the more options they will have and the more available they will become. Another issue with these is that they are more expensive than getting your needles and your tubes. And one of the problems is I can go in and get like a 5-pack of needles if I just need that many needles, but right now from the dealer I'm going to, you have to get an entire box of these if you want to use these. And on top of that, they're more expensive, so they're more expensive and you got to get an entire box. So if you can afford that, that's still a good way to go, but if you're trying to save money, then cartridges might not be for you. Now they have disposable tubes and tips, which I would use, and I'm not a big fan of trying to sterilize the tubes and tips. I'd rather use the disposables. So for me, I probably wouldn't use this setup. I would still use the cartridges, but I would buy some of the disposable setups, and that way I can just dispose of those when I'm finished tattooing with them. You know, when it's time to dispose of these, I think these cartridges are a lot easier to dispose of. You can just remove it and throw it away in the container for your sharps. And with a needle like this, you run the risk of accidentally poking yourself with it when you're trying to dispose of it. Even if you're doing things properly, sometimes accidents happen and you can be exposed to something because of this needle. But with this, you can see it's inside of the cartridge and you can just throw it away. One of the other advantages to this is when you are doing a colored piece or even a black and gray piece, but you're adding highlights to it. And a lot of times you have your mag needle and you're tattooing, but then when it's time to do the white, you try to rinse out your needle and you still get black that likes to mix in with your white. So you don't get a pure white because your tubes are dirty. And no matter how much you rinse it out, you still get a little bit of that ink in here. What tattoo artists will do is after they're done coloring in a tattoo, they will put in a clean needle or switch the tip out and use a clean tip to do the white highlights. So another advantage with the cartridge is when it's time to do that, you can just pop it out and put in a new one.